So welcome to another virtual broadcast of It's All About Shipping. Today we have a very interesting fireside chat with Cyprus Shipping Deputy Minister, Mr. Vassilis Demetriades, who is joining us today to brief us in on his progress so far in undertaking his duties at the ministry and much more. But most importantly, he will be explaining today why he is in love with shipping, and in particular towards the end of the show, why he's in love with Cyprus shipping. Welcome to the show, Mr. Demetriades.
Many thanks, Gina. Thank you for the invitation. And thank to all the people that are following us today.
I believe we will have a lot of interesting things to share today for our audience. Just a few words, since you have been newly appointed, so people may not be so familiar with your background. Mr. Demetriades is, as I mentioned, the Shipping Deputy Minister of Shipping, who undertook the position on the 10th of July of this year. Prior to his appointment, he served as a policy officer in the Directorate General of Mobility and Transport of the European Commission, dealing with the coordination of the EU Maritime Transport Strategy and EU's external maritime transport relations for 5 years. He has previously been involved in the promotion of EU sustainability shipping initiatives through the coordination of the European Sustainable Shipping Forum. And he has also served as a member of Cabinet of Commissioner Vassiliou, responsible for education, culture, multilingualism, and youth. And a lot more, of course, which if you can Google, I'm sure you can find, but without further ado, because we do have a very restricted schedule. I opened this show saying that you will be telling us today why you are in love with shipping, a hashtag which I notice you use on your social media. And I would like you to explain to us why you're in love with shipping and the inspiration behind this hashtag.
Well, thank you, Gina, for this first question. Well, I must say that in every aspect of life, what makes the real difference are people. And what I have observed over the years in this sector is that the passion that you see in the eyes of all these people dealing with the sector, when they discuss about the sector, there's a smile and the satisfaction they face when they accomplish a task, and of course the dynamism and potential of this sector. It's something, some of the reasons why I'm in love with this sector. It's been more than 22 years that I'm covering and I'm working on this sector from many different roles. And I must say that every day I'm learning something new. And this is also another reason. So the people, the potential dynamic nature of the sector, and of course, the fact that you can never be bored of this sector. So these are part of a few of the reasons why I'm in love with this sector, yeah.
I would fully agree on that. And it's a very positive note, I believe, to set for starting today's show. And surely shipping is exactly as you describe it, I would say, and one of the most fascinating industries in the world. However, it is quite a challenge and far from a smooth sail. I would like to know next, when you were initially told that you're undertaking this role as at the helm of the Cyprus Shipping Deputy Ministry, a rather young ministry, in yet a very dynamic international shipping hub like Cyprus. What did you foresee then as your greatest challenge or difficulty to tackle?
Well, I must say that the greatest challenge or difficulty is how to change the mindset, how to make people, how to build this culture for people to come closer to the shipping sector. How can they come closer to all the maritime related activities, or find the links of people and the connections with the sea. Although we are an island, I must say that we have a long way to go on this. And I consider this as one of the greatest challenge. That's why one of my plans is to put forward initiatives in order to change the culture, the mindset of people It's important for such a sector that Cyprus enjoys reputation, and for so many years is among the first maritime nations globally, that we do have the human power that is also in love with the sector. So we have to make people, more people be in love with that sector. This is one of the greatest challenge. And of course, I can mention a lot of other challenges. One of them is to continue, let's say, the successful path of my predecessor in order to promote the Cyprus as a quality maritime cluster, to promote and upgrade our product in order to attract more ships under the Cyprus flag and more companies in Cyprus, more shipping companies. But this is something that we already have in the pipeline. What is important, and we will have to invest time, is to change that culture. So I have in mind a few initiatives, actions that together with my team we are planning in order to have some, to bring some new fresh air on that sector, in order to make more people aware about the potential of the sea and of the maritime activities.
A consistent answer actually from your predecessor, and it's very encouraging to see that this will be at on the top priorities and continuing these efforts, because indeed it is one of the most important. A few months down the line, has this changed at all? Have you seen anything else which you believe must also be ranked as top priority in your challenges?
Well, first of all, I mean, don't forget, the pandemic does not allow us at this stage to promote what we are offering as a maritime nation. And therefore, it's a great opportunity to revisit what we provide in order to upgrade our product, but also it provides us the opportunity to come up, to put forward a long-term strategy for this sector. I consider of great importance that a sector with that potential in Cyprus has to have a long-term strategy, a vision for the sector. So at this stage, what we are doing is that we are taking stock of our accomplishments during the last 2 decades. We are evaluating all the challenges and opportunities globally and at European level. And we will soon approach the shipping, the Cyprus shipping community, and also the Cypriot citizens for a brainstorming, for a consultation, in order to formulate together the future, the vision for this sector. We want to identify where we stand and where we want to go. And we would like to do that together with the shipping community. And we would like to ask also the public. And this is one of the initiatives that I mentioned before that I have in mind, in order to bring people closer to the sector. So we want to open our doors. I tend to be a very good listener. So I want to open the doors to the public, to the stakeholders, to exchange views and evaluate what we have, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, in order to put some strategic objectives for this sector for the next 2 decades. This is something we have already been working the last couple of weeks in the Shipping Deputy Ministry. And our plan is to be able to present, to launch the public consultation towards the end of this year, and to present the new, let's say, long-term strategy for this sector in the framework of the next Maritime Cyprus Conference, which, by the way, I would like to mention that is scheduled for the 10th to the 13th of October next year. But we might come up with some new innovative ideas on that conference, but we will soon be in a opportunity to announce. Hopefully, we will not have a COVID pandemic between us next year, and we will be able to organize this event.
That was actually, since you mentioned the maritime, a question I wanted to ask. Are you preparing it to be a physical conference? Any considerations to also have a backup plan of virtual?
Well, the way things are evolving, and because of the pandemic, everybody has to have a plan B. Mm-hmm. But what I feel very strongly is that the beauty of this conference is the networking. The fact that a lot of people travel to Cyprus, they mingle with the local shipping community, and it's not only the conference itself to follow the discussions, but it's the fact that you have to create is an opportunity and a place that you build a network. So I fully believe that for a sector like shipping, you do need a personal contact. Although virtual meetings and virtual chats, the one that we are doing now, are of course very important, but for the sector, it's very important to have this personal contact. And our aim is to organize a meeting like every time. But okay, we will be prepared also for a plan B.
No, I think we should be definitely seeing the positive scenario, because a lot of people will be disappointed. It's a great opportunity to visit Cyprus, and a great conference which we have seen evolving over the years. And it's very good to see that you are looking into making it more innovative and bringing in new suggestions and initiatives in this respect. We touched upon COVID. Obviously, it's the only thing we have been hearing for quite a while now, and how we manage and plan around it. So in addition to the existing challenges you had to face when taking on a ministry, you also assumed this role during the circumstances. What was the impact of this for you, both personally and within the scope of your new role, of course?
Well, personally, okay, and being a very open person, I mean, COVID and the lockdowns that we faced back in spring, and hopefully we are not going to face a second one. I think, as everybody else, it was something that we are trying to cope, but it's not easy. I mean, you have to, it's not easy when you want to meet your friends, your family, to create this friendly atmosphere and all this. You don't have this opportunity now with the COVID. But in terms of my new role and the fact that I returned to Cyprus under these circumstances, I must say that it's not easy, but I think every crisis holds opportunities, and we have to live with it. We have to work with it, and definitely our tasks to promote and develop Cyprus shipping, nothing will prevent us from that. COVID is part of our life, and we have to get used to it. And this is what we are always saying to our team here at the Shipping Deputy Ministry. We have to live with it, and we have to take into account that even with the COVID, we have to do our best to provide the best possible service to our clients.
It's also definitely, I believe what you mentioned earlier, a great opportunity to reflect and formulate strategy on how to enhance things and take things further. So in a way, maybe it gives you this opportunity to set an additional perspective to how we go forward with promoting Cyprus shipping. Your background, as I mentioned earlier in your profile, is you have been heavily involved in maritime policy and generally in policy. So I would like you maybe to share a few thoughts on whether COVID has brought to the surface gaps when it comes to, on a global level, when it comes to dealing with such a crisis, and also in respect to maritime, of course, in particular.
Well, I must say that nobody was prepared for such a crisis. I mean, this is also a humanitarian crisis, we should not forget. So we were not prepared. But as I mentioned, every crisis holds opportunities, and in that respect, I believe that COVID is a catalyst for change. We have to face the situation of a new business model. Adjusting now to the new normal is not a cliche. I mean, it's absolutely necessary to embrace the digital transformation into our lives, into our working environment. And before the COVID, we used to say that the private sector was many steps ahead. These technological developments, the digital transformation, and usually the regulators were following. Now, with this situation, I think we have to go hand in hand. We have to change our business models and also to create the framework conditions and the regulatory framework to support this digital transformation, all the means to simplify formalities. So it's very important that also for the sector that there is a clear message to everybody, regulators and industry, that we should embrace the digital technologies, the digital transformation, not only on our day-to-day operations, but also in the way we run and operate our ships. So in this respect, we will have to take this advantage of COVID and speed up our procedures.
It's definitely another opportunity, as you mentioned, as arises in several do arise in crisis, to maybe determine some hybrid models of how to use the benefits of this digital transformation and embrace them into the industry. So that is yet another positive note. While during this period, and of course, you have been restricted in what you have been able to do on an exterior level in promoting the Cyprus shipping industry. We have seen, however, several initiatives and activities rather being pursued, such as to continue the ministry's work so far, such as, of course, enhancing green shipping targets, innovation opportunities, attracting youth to the industry, especially seagoing careers. You have already touched upon several of these targets. However, I would like you maybe to brief us in on what is the agenda or your main targets as a ministry going forward in the next 2 years. What would you like to see?
Well, first of all, just to mention that in these 2.5 months, I tried to meet with a lot of people because don't forget that I was away from Cyprus for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to understand how things work, to listen to their concerns, to their suggestions, just to have a broader picture on the situation. What you mentioned is very correct. We are trying now to come up with some green initiatives in order to signal not only within our shipping community, but also to the global shipping arena that Cyprus is approaching and is willing to contribute to the green transformation of the sector. And one way of doing that is to provide green incentives. We would like to have a shipping registry that attracts new vessels, vessels that they improve their energy efficiency. So we would like to link our competitiveness with the greening. This is an important issue. You mentioned about attracting youth. Well, this is for me a persisting priority. And I must say that in the forthcoming weeks, we will hopefully, the situation with the pandemic will allow us, but we are planning to launch a campaign targeting all our young people, especially at the secondary school, to advise them about the opportunities of the maritime professions, of the seafaring profession, and also to discuss with them the potential that sector has. And of course, through, as I mentioned before, this formulation of the new long-term strategy, this is the way we are going to approach also the young people, to listen to them, to better understand what are their priorities, what are their needs. And I must tell you that also the digital transformation and the fact that the young people are very familiar with the new technologies, and they are always willing to use the new technologies in every aspect of life, is something that we must use as a tool to attract the young people. Well, on your question, what are the main objectives towards the next 2 years? I must tell you that along with the persisting priority to promote and develop further Cyprus shipping, is, and this goes together, of course, is to be able to have, hopefully, in a year's time, all our services to be digital. We are trying to, this one-stop shop that we have in mind, to make it happen. And so we are now trying to create the framework conditions, assign priorities to see how we can make our entity here, the Shipping Deputy Ministry, to be digital. So all our correspondence with the outside world and with our clients, the shipping industry, so they can feel the real difference, to have 24/7 fast service, and to be able to simplify the procedures, because I believe the future of the sector lies in the digital transformation and in the fast service. So these are quite a few of the elements that we have in mind, but also we would like to add on our existing services some incentives to attract pleasure crafts, yachts in our registry, and also to make our policy for registering ships more attractive.
And the pleasure yachts, I hope the process more attractive. As a maritime lawyer, that is a concern which we have seen a few times. So these are very positive news, and we do hope to see this taking place the soonest. The IMO, we have already, of course, discussed parts of this this issue. However, the IMO 2020 theme was, as we all know, sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet. Do you believe that the IMO targets are viable, and what strategies should the maritime sector in Cyprus, whether as a ministry, associations, private stakeholders, should be taking to ensure the sustainability going forward?
Well, I must say that sustainability consists of 3 pillars. We are talking about the environmental protection, the social sustainability, and the economic sustainability. IMO's basically agenda and what is at stake now is focused on the first pillar, which is the environmental sustainability, the green transformation. This is a huge challenge for the sector and for all the other sectors. But for shipping, the sector that we are responsible, I must say that IMO, the last couple of years, and I'm glad to say that, proved that it can deliver, proved that, show to the outside world that shipping is determined and willing to make its meaningful contribution to climate change. And I believe that the initial greenhouse gases strategy that was adopted is a step towards the right direction. So what is our position on that? We believe that climate change is a global problem, and we should seek global solutions. And especially for a sector like shipping, which is global, we need to to strive our efforts towards that direction. So what we have to do, basically, the solution to a more sustainable maritime transport sector, to have a meaningful contribution to climate change, is through a basket of measures, regulatory and non-regulatory. It could be towards the promotion of alternative clean fuels, coupled with the right infrastructure to support this promotion. It could be through the use of energy efficiency, but also through the support of research and development synergies. So on that direction, I believe that regulators and industry, together with the research institutes, they have to work together to provide solutions, sustainable solutions for the future of this sector. But allow me also to say that we are expecting also some regional measures from the EU. And we are very much concerned about this. So we see Brussels with the Green Deal and their commitment and the mandate that the European Commission has to include maritime transport within the emissions trading scheme is an issue of great concern for us. So what we should try to do once the Commission will announce officially such an initiative, we will try to be proactive. We will try to explain to the decision makers what are the specificities of these sectors in order to improve any regional provisions. We don't want to see any regional provisions, but if Brussels decides to do so, then we have to be ready to respond. So we have to plan together with our shipping industry in order to be able to be ready to explain to Brussels what it best works for this industry. The right way is IMO, but if Brussels decides to go to follow another path, then we should show constructiveness and explain what the way this has to be done in order not to put at risk the competitiveness of the sector. And we would like shipping to remain a strategic asset for Europe. So we have to work hard on that. And this is a message also to our industry that we should strive always for global solutions, but if we have to face some regional development solutions, initiatives, we have to be ready to respond. And that's why I'm determined to use all my network in Brussels and to be proactive in order to influence to the best possible extent the decision makers to have, if Brussels decides for a regional solution, one that is viable and constructive for the sector.
I think that is definitely a very important topic, actually, which you touched, and thank you for mentioning it. Because due to the time restrictions of the show, obviously I couldn't include anything, but it's very important to see that action is already being considered and measures on how to, as you said, convey this message of what the real situation is and what the needs of this particular industry is. Is this something that the ministry is working on officially with the stakeholders, and it is already?
We have a plan. We like to be proactive. And so
we're not a very proactive industry, we're rather reactive. So this is very positive news.
Yes, we have to see the danger and be able to respond well in advance so we can signal our concerns and provide the solutions well in advance, because once something is formulated, then it's very difficult to change. Exactly. So we need to be proactive and to inject with viable solutions all the decision makers.
Exactly, and I'm sure that given your extensive experience, you are well aware and more aware than most of us on the challenges of once something is implemented, what the dangers are. Going back a little bit to the pillar of the environment, of course, when it comes to the local cluster, do you believe that they require support from the ministry as such in adopting their personal strategies to meet these targets?
Well, what we are signaling first to Brussels is that the sector, to cope with the green transformation, it will need adequate funding. Mm-hmm. This is a must. So we have to make some proposals to Brussels on the way that some of our projects should be eligible for funding in order to help the industry to cope. We have also the European Recovery and Resilience Facility that we have to work with the industry and to be a bit innovative. Okay, this recovery and resilience facility is formulated because of the impact of COVID to the national economies of the EU member states, but is strongly linked with the digital and green transformation. Mm-hmm. So we have to find ways to help the industry and to formulate eligible criteria for funding, because I know it's a very big burden for the industry to adjust and to cope with the new green commitments.
Especially now and following the global crisis of COVID, which has added the burden to this industry and the world economy in general. I will also go back a little to what we have already discussed on attracting the youth of this, or attracting the youth to the industry, retaining talent. It is, of course, very encouraging, and I do say this a lot in my endeavors also when I'm abroad, to see at the helm of shipping both the first appointed minister and the second appointed minister being very young and vigorous, and this is encouraging as a role model in itself. However, from my experiences so far, what I do see is that we are perceived by the youth as a more traditional industry, not so exciting, not so many young and vigorous role models that they can find in other industries, for example, for the forex industries or maybe even pharmaceuticals, etc. So in overall, I believe they are discouraged from what we see as a very fascinating industry. You already mentioned that digitalization is an opportunity to attract the youth, but how do you believe we can make this industry more attractive to the youth? And personally, what would you advise a youth interested in joining the industry if they were to ask you?
Well, indeed, the industry is a traditional one. The way it works, the way it operates, but I must say that there is a wind of change, and we have, of course, to take advantage of this change and to inject the sector with all these digital transformations, new technologies. And I'm glad to observe that a lot of companies, and also in Cyprus, they do have a lot of automated systems. They do invest a lot on the new technologies. They do invest on optimization. And I believe that all the way that currently the sector is working and is moving towards the digital era is what we have to promote to the young people. It's not how shipping used to be 2-3 decades ago, but we have to promote how the shipping will look like in 5, 10, 15 years. And this is a great tool for us to promote the sector. But what I want to underline is that we don't want, a campaign towards the youth is not just about promoting the maritime professions, the seafaring profession, or a call for them to follow the maritime studies. First, it's important to make them love the sector, to make them come closer to the sector. And because it's not about forcing people to follow a profession, but it's to make them make their own mind. So we need to provide the right information for them, the pros and cons, but also, okay, we have to provide the sector in a smart way, but also to build that culture. That's why what we are planning to do with a new campaign it will not be only the typical, an update of a flyer, follow the seafaring profession or the maritime studies, but we want to make it more interactive. So allow me, I mean, in the next chat we are going to have in 2-3 months, I'm sure I will have more concrete information to provide on this.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to it, but I believe that all of the points which you mentioned, and it does come down to, I think, first of all, awareness and creating this feeling and this experience of what you described at the beginning as a show, why you're in love with shipping, why I believe it's a fascinating industry, and why everybody involved has this passion for it. So we are truly looking forward to seeing the campaign, and hopefully as soon as it's launched, you will be able to share with us the full information. And going on to a rather concluding note before we close today's show, we talked about Cyprus shipping and of course the new initiatives, etc. But what would you describe as the unique quality or trait that Cyprus shipping has? Because I did notice that your hashtag has added in love with CY shipping. So if you could tell us also why in particular CY shipping, it would be great.
Yes, thank you for this question. Well, there are a lot of things to say why Cyprus is unique, but if you ask me to name one, I will not mention the fiscal incentives. I will not mention the, let's say, the social or the living conditions in the island and all this, or the attractive fiscal regimes. What I would like to mention is the people. The people in Cyprus that are involved in the sector. This is the let's say the treasure of the sector, and that is unique. I have traveled to a lot of, let's say, maritime nations, but you don't face this richness of expertise, this passion that people have for the sector, and this is what makes Cyprus shipping unique. If what I'm saying, I used to say to my Brussels colleagues for years, okay, we do have other, I don't want to name them, other countries that have invested on shipping. They have a great shipping sector, but please come to Cyprus. Please talk to people, visit the companies. And I must tell you that I spoke with my transport commissioner when I was part of the commission, with my directors, and they say that we've been to so many conferences, but when we come to Cyprus, this is unique because we do find the real shipping people to discuss, the real people that they love the sector, and we feel that this sector, when we come to Cyprus, deserves the best, deserves our attention. And that's why I want to invite to Cyprus also the decision makers that sometimes decide for shipping without knowing shipping. We want these people to better understand the richness of expertise, what this sector is offering, and how it works. And I'm sure that Cyprus, the value, the quality of its shipping community is something that no other nation has. And I'm proud to be part of it, honestly.
That's definitely very positive feedback, and especially since, as you mentioned, you have traveled in a lot of maritime hubs, and it's very important to see such an encouraging message, given your experience and your roles in the past. And since you did mention it before, as we're coming towards the end of the show, but you mentioned that you would like to invite the decision makers and stakeholders to, regulators to know what, to learn more about what this industry is about. And I feel that one of the challenges that this industry as a whole is dealing with is also the low profile that it has. So the message is not out there on what we do and the importance that we do. Do you feel that over your years of experience in this industry, this has changed? Are we raising the profile now? Are we doing enough in sending the message through on how important and vital this industry is?
Well, there is a room for improvement, I must say. I think there are steps towards the right direction, but since the whole chat today is about in love with shipping, I must tell you that usually the people you love, you try to hide them, to protect them, but especially this sector that there are so many people in love with that, we have to promote it. We have to be proud of it, and we have to communicate the right message of this industry. And this is something that I believe there is a lot of room for improvement also, both at the European level and at global level. So we need, and I think COVID was also the opportunity to prove that maritime transport is so important. It can deliver. And I think all these people that they used to receive the message that 90% of global trade is carried by sea, it was something that it was very visible to everybody all over the world. And we have a message for the shipping community that we have to build on that. Even after COVID, we have to demonstrate how important was that sector for the whole global economy, for the households, for everybody, for our medicines, for our hospitals. So we have to build on that and provide. There are many examples. So yes, there is a room to promote the sector better, to communicate our messages. And I'm ready to work hard with the industry to do that.
Exactly. And as you rightly mentioned, COVID did give this opportunity. I think while the whole world was put on hold, the shipping industry was the only one that continued running. And it was quite disappointing, if I may say, to see that while it was a struggle to define seafarers as key workers, when all the medicine and the groceries and everything that we were rushing to buy and be treated by would come to us by ships, essentially. But it should be the beginning of this effort to really raise the awareness and the profile, I feel.
Just imagine if we come up with a slogan or a video, a visual image showing that. Just imagine our COVID world without shipping. Just imagine that. So
I think in imagining that, people might understand a little bit better why we are in love with shipping. And with that question, I believe we've reached the end of the show. Unless there's something that you would like to add or share with our audience before we close today's fireside chat?
No, just to mention that a message that as a marathoner, I have the perseverance and the patience to work with all the shipping community to create the framework conditions for a sustainable future for this sector in Cyprus. So it's not only to attract and develop the sector in the short run, but to have the framework conditions for a sustainable future. That's why we have to do a long-term strategy in order for this sector to prosper for the years to come.
Definitely, and definitely an asset. And I'm happy you mentioned about your marathoning experiences, which gives you the patience and the stamina to set out the correct long-term strategy for taking this industry forward. With that, I think we've come to the end of today's show. It was a pleasure hosting you, Mr. Demetriades, on It's All About Shipping.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for accepting this invite. I think a lot was shared, and we are truly looking forward to the next chat where we can reveal more about the campaigns which you mentioned and initiatives, and hopefully, pandemic allowing, that you will be able to resume activities in promoting the Cyprus cluster beyond the industry. Thank you very much once again for being with us.
Many thanks.
And we look forward to the initiatives and of course Maritime Cyprus next year. Hoping we would truly wish and send all the positive energy that it would be the case, because a lot of people will be disappointed not to be visiting Cyprus, I believe.
You are very right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. That was it from It's All About Shipping and Gina Panayiotou. Join us next Wednesday where we have Christine Valentine in a fireside chat, who is Executive Director of the World Ocean Council. Have a nice evening.